going on, everybody? This is your man, Big Stu, Scott Stewart, or Professor Stewart. It really depends on how you know me. And we are back for another edition of Dope People. I promise you, I have the best podcast in the world. I have the most fun on this podcast because obviously I get to hang out every episode with some of the dopest people in education. It doesn't get any better than this, and I am not letting you down with this episode. Today, we have with us Dr. Sheka Houston and Principal Tammy Taylor. All right. Welcome, Dr. Sheka and Principal Tammy.
Thank you.
All right. So this is the first episode where we've had two guests on at the same time. So this is going to be very interesting. But let me give it to you how I normally give it to you. So these women, Dr. Sheka, Principal Tammy, they are best-selling contributing authors of, check this out, Women Who Lead in Education, featuring School Principals, Volume 3, 2nd edition, okay? They are also not just working in education, but they're entrepreneurs. They are co-founders of Create and Educate. They got bars. They like rhyme and stuff. Create and Educate LLC. Now that's an education and literary firm, right? They offer resources to schools to include PDs. You all know what PDs are, and a catalog of culturally relevant book titles for school-age children from independent authors. There's some independent authors that are listening. I'm one of them. Right? They help you get your books into schools. These school leaders combined have over 40 years. I don't want to say over 40, but they do. They have 40 years of experience in education between the two of them, with experience in charter school startups, get that, as well as instituting AVID and Leader in Me as school initiatives. And if that's not enough, this dynamic duo were the recipients of the South Carolina Palmetto Silver Award. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like it is an award that people achieve to get. They got this award for academic growth. They moved 2 and 3 report card levels in 1 year, okay? After experiencing some tremendous academic growth, NWEA conducted a case study that is featured on their website. And we'll drop that link in a minute. You go check their website out. Now, most recently, if that's still not enough, these busy individuals, Dr. Houston and Principal Taylor, have a new book. Was it released? Has it been released? It was supposed to come out in December 2021. Not sure if it's out yet. Is it out?
No, it should be out in February.
That's how it happens in the real world.
Yeah.
They have a new book coming out. And by the time this podcast is released, it'll be out.
It probably will.
Right? And
right.
It's titled, It Doesn't Have to Be Lonely at the Top, The Power of Collaboration and Leadership. Because it is lonely at the top sometimes, but it doesn't have to be if you collaborate and have a book about it. This book outlines their story of resiliency in the leadership journey. Their weekly Facebook Live series, The Collaborative, exhibits this notion, as well as their Saturday PD series. Copies can be reserved on their website. Dr. Sheka, Principal Tammy, unbelievable. Welcome to Dope People.
Thank you.
How are you all doing today?
Phenomenal.
Awesome.
Especially after that introduction. Thank you.
Yes. Humbling, isn't it, Sheka?
It is humbling to hear yourself when then people start reading your bio. It's just like too much. But it's good. It's good. So that's your professional resume. And people can go back and rewind and listen to that all day long. But that doesn't really tell us who you are. And I have a methodology We like that word in education, methodology. I have a methodology to help the listeners who are some of your peers really get to know you. Are you all familiar with this or that?
Oh, yeah.
We are.
Okay. Are you up for a round of this or that?
Or we even do this on the collaborative with our
What do
guests.
you say, Sheka? You think I can do
You do?
Yes, Tammy never plays it right, but we'll see how she does today.
Okay. I'm a hardcore stickler for it. It's this or that. Ain't no both. This ain't this, that, or
that's
both.
what I am.
That's
This
what
is
she
this
does.
or that. Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm
Ready.
ready.
Any questions before we get started?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Blinds or curtains?
Blinds.
Blinds.
Okay. Hard shell or soft shell tacos?
Hard shell.
Hard shell.
No judgment there. Pancakes or French toast?
French toast.
Pancakes.
Okay. Plane or boat?
Say that one again.
Plane or boat?
Oh, plane.
Airplane.
Comedy or horror?
Comedy.
Really?
Yes.
That's a weird thing. Comedy for me, for sure.
I like to laugh.
Okay. Fire or ice?
Ice.
Ice. Definitely ice for her.
Book or movie?
Book.
Book.
Okay. This is getting good. You all are really good at this. Hey, just give it. Y'all really good. It's not over, but y'all good. This is good. Apples or oranges?
Apples.
Apples.
This is interesting. Jeans or sweatpants?
Sweatpants.
Jeans.
All right, we're about to bring it on home. We're about to bring it on home. Now, this is where it gets really it's starting to get serious here, okay?
Okay.
White meat or dark meat? Come on. White meat or dark meat?
White meat.
Well, now I'm a pescatarian, but
Okay.
did eat meat.
Oh, no, not
White meat.
you breaking the rules of the game.
She chose white meat. She went for it. Love or money?
Love.
Love.
Teachers or principals?
That's a hard one. I guess I'm gonna have to say teachers because that's where the groundwork is done. You know, the teachers are in with the students, so students are the main people we're trying to reach.
Teachers.
Okay. Public education or charter education?
Public.
Public.
Unions or non-unions?
Non-unions, because we're fair.
And Principal Tammy? She
I don't
tried
really
to get out of it. I see what you're talking about, Dr. Sheka. She tried to get out of it.
I don't really have any experience with the union. I've heard things, but I would have to say non-union because that's my experience.
It's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Final question. In person or e-learning?
In person.
In person, if I have to pick.
Why was that such a struggle for you, Principal Tammy?
Because I personally prefer e-learning, and I think it is incredible for folks who can self-pace and have the motivation to get the work done. So I personally prefer that, but the pandemic taught me that that isn't what is best for all learners, and some people cannot create success in that environment. So um, I do know that everybody can be successful in person. So that's why.
Okay. I said that was the last question, but that's not true. There's one final question. When it comes to college, HBCU or PWI?
Definitely HBCU, but that's one of my biggest regrets. I have not attended one, but I would have liked to, and I should have.
Fair.
Likewise, I concur.
Well, as a attendee of Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, shame on y'all.
Yeah.
Great job. Thank you for participating with This or That. Extremely insightful. Thank you for being such good sports. It's an honor. Let's start with you, Dr. Sheka. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Well, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, and you can't tell by my Southern drawl. But in third grade, we moved here to South Carolina, where I currently reside. My mom and my dad had gotten a divorce. So my mom definitely didn't think Cleveland, Ohio, she didn't have a good experience in school. So she wanted us to have what she felt like would be a better school experience, a better upbringing. And she thought that the South would be that. So that's where we moved. My sister, my younger sister, she's 3 years younger than me. My mom and I came here to Chester, South Carolina.
Awesome. I did not know that you were from, it's the Midwest, but even though it's on Eastern time zone, that's so weird to me. But Cleveland has definitely had its share of troubles over the years. Principal Tammy, what about you? Where are you from?
I am born and raised right here in Chester, South Carolina.
Awesome. And Principal Tammy, when you think about your schooling as a youngster, let's think about middle school, sixth grade-ish, through high school. What kind of student were you?
I have always probably been a decent student. I love school.
You tickled by this question. I gotta dig in a little bit more. I feel like it's something there. It's a little bit more. Tell us, please. Share.
I'm so not. I don't know. Other people might think that I'm kind of nerdish, geekish, or whatever. But I just love school. I've always loved school. But I enjoy friends and the things that make school too. Like I guess I can say I was a well-rounded student where I knew how to double down, and I was an excellent student academically, but I was also social enough that I had friends and enjoyed the teachers and what school was all about. So I love school, always have.
Now, Principal Tammy, did you always know that you wanted to be in education? How did that come about?
Interestingly, education is not my first career. I was a corporate banker. So I did not think ever that I was going to be an educator. Now, my mom says, like, when I was younger, I was teaching dolls and my brother and neighbors and stuff like that. So she kind of felt like I had home teaching in me or something. It didn't surprise her. surprised me because that just wasn't the career that I saw myself in. But I married young, and one of the things that my husband, we got married when we were 18 years old. And one of the things that he promised my mother when she found out we got married, it was my first year in college. And of course, she thought that was the end of the world and my life was ruined. And this was the worst thing that could ever have happened. And so he secretly assured her that he did not marry me to ruin my life, and that I was going to finish college and do whatever it was I wanted to do. He was going to support me to do whatever. And so just along that path that we were on, I started working at the bank, and as I said, ended up in corporate banking, and thought that was what I was going to do. I was going to school to get my accounting degree, and I was going to move into management in the area of the bank that I was working in. Ran into a friend from high school who was at Winthrop, which is the school that I went to. And she said, we hadn't seen each other forever. She's like, we're at registration. She said, I know this class that you need to take. And it's an easy A, because she found out I was in accounting and had like all these massive classes. And she's like, I know a class that you are going to get an easy A in. It's the easiest class. I'm taking it because I didn't take it when I first started. She was a special ed major, and it was Education 180 is what the class was called. And so I was like, oh yeah, I need an easy A because I got all this heavy load this semester, and started in that class, which was a class of practicums. You just went from one education scene to the next, and kind of started second guessing, like, am I supposed to be a banker? Am I supposed to, like, I don't think I'm a teacher, but I feel like I probably need to be. And the rest is kind of history, because I changed my major like in my third year. And it was just one of those things that became like, right. I felt like it was the right thing to do. And so that's how I ended up here.
What an amazing story. Shout out to Principal Tammy for that. Taking the leap of faith, following your intuition, following the spirit. Dr. Sheka, what kind of student were you in middle school and through high school?
Well, we have very similar backgrounds. I was very much a studious student. I was never in trouble. I got good grades. I loved school. Probably, one of those kids that wanted to make sure the teachers were pleased and my mom was pleased with everything that I was doing. I was really quiet in school, although I was still social. So I kind of kept to myself. I had a few friends, but I was involved in different things, student council and beta club, those types of things. We went on different field trips that we enjoyed.
Sheka is very modest. She is like Miss Teen USA or something.
That's what I'm sitting there. You saw me sit back in the chair like.
She's so modest.
I know girls like her. I remember her in high school, even though, you know what I mean? Like, but that's the humility is part of what makes her who she is. So I get it. Keep going, Dr. Sheka.
As Tammy stated, I did do pageantry, so I did win some titles, and I also went to modeling school. So I did some commercials. I went to etiquette school. My mom is a Christian playwright, so she loves the arts. I've been involved with her plays, so she has always made sure that my sister and I were very exposed culturally. So we did a lot of things that were outside of the school, a lot of opportunities. So that was a blessing to be able to do those things. And in high school, I actually was a teacher cadet, but I probably needed a mentor, because after I saw how much teachers made, I said, oh my God, I can't live off of this. I can't be a teacher. So I changed what I was going to college for to business. So just like Tammy, my bachelor's is actually in business, because, you know, when I looked up salaries and what I wanted to live off of, it was not a teaching salary. But what happened with my sorority, we had a workshop where we were working with some young ladies. It was a pageant. I was doing a workshop on self-esteem. So working with them during the workshop, I saw myself from school, you know, needing that support, needing that boost of confidence, needing those great role models. So one of my friends and one of my sorors, she said, well, if you really like this and you like working with children, you know, because I was, in my mind, I was thinking, well, I'm not going to go back to school, you know, another whole 4 years. And she said, well, they have alternative programs for you
Alternative
to,
teacher certifications. Absolutely.
right.
That's right.
So she told me all about that. I, you know, researched it. And that's how I got into education, through the alternative program. And similar to Tammy, my 10th grade year, I guess our husbands were really smart. They wanted to get us off the market. My 10th grade year of college, I got married. So I was
wait, say that. You're saying your 10th grade year of college?
Not 10th grade, my sophomore year of college.
Okay, all right.
Got married, and so I was married at 20, I believe, really young. But my husband also supported what I wanted to do. So at first I was in mortgage and real estate. And when I changed over, I just took those, you know, different classes and went into teaching. And I was able to take the salary cut, you know, because my husband supported it.
Okay. That's also amazing. And I get that. So you were kind of groomed. Did you attend the cotillion? Were you a part of that as well? Did you do stuff like that?
I did.
Yeah. I believe it or not,
fine. I'm a country girl, chopping wood with my brothers.
Right.
Now, I'm also a country girl too, even though I had those experiences.
Well, and I thought that was that is the country living, the etiquette, being a Southern belle, you know what I mean?
Oh, no, I was not.
No, you were not. Okay, all right. So tell the audience, tell us, how did you all meet? And how did you all get to being co-founders of your business? How did that happen? Why don't you share that story?
I really don't even remember. So we really are like in the same family per se. And I think we were kind of came across each other's paths. One was at my wedding. Another one was at my sister's wedding, because Tammy helped one of the ladies who was helping direct the weddings with the wedding directing. So once we came across one another's paths, we worked in the same district. So she was a person that I was asking questions about when I was thinking about moving into leadership, you know, for some advice, because she had leadership in district experience. So from there, we just it was just like a natural connection, like, you know, sister from another mother, and just went from there.
And like Sheka said, it's kind of one of those things like you have to be here to understand how interconnected our community is. So it's kind of one of those communities where, like she said, we're interconnected in the same family, and like we've known and heard of each other because her brother and my brother were best friends. Like, they're older than we are. So that was like before we knew probably each other existed. So it was just some interconnectivity there. And like, I am a person, and Sheka too, who believes that there is always this divine intervention where God's going to put you with who you're supposed to be with, and he's going to connect you with the person or the people who he has to help you to get to where you need to go. And so I think that that path was kind of laid out with us having these intersections along the way so that you could see what character person she was, and she could see what kind of character I had without us having to meet each other and become adult friends, because both of us are way standoffish, would have never been anybody's friend.
And that's
So we're seeing each other, knowing each other, kind of family, and at the same time, in the professional sense, seeing exactly what I see when I look in myself. I see when I look at her, probably was the reciprocal for her. So you see that person who has the same beliefs, and you share philosophically what the right thing to do for kids are at that time, and kind of just was one of those things. Now the business is interesting because it wasn't a business relationship necessarily, even though we had a professional relationship and supported one another in the things that we were doing professionally. We really were just doing what we do. So it was honestly at the urging of a friend, a mentor, colleague, who said, look, y'all ladies are rock stars. Y'all need to do what you do and let people know what you're doing. And we were looking at each other like, well, I mean, maybe he sees something we don't see.
absolutely.
And so we
And I
kind
see
of,
it. I see it from my purview. I see it. I see it a mile away. It's like you all were made for each other almost. I don't know if you feel that now,
oh yeah.
but it's obvious. It's like,
And it's like she could say it, like it's that, we do loosely sometimes say, oh, that's my sister from another mother, but it's really a genuine sisterhood there, where I think she knows, I know she knows that there isn't anything that I wouldn't do to support her. And I feel that same spirit of support. Her mama is as proud of me as she is of her, and so is Nika. It's just that thing. My mom thinks just as highly of her, so it's that level of support and camaraderie and collaboration, because that really is what everything that we have is built upon, the fact that we call each other trust mates, because she is somebody that I can trust, and I know is going to be real about what I need to know, not just what I want to hear. And she knows that she'll get that same from me.
trust mates. That's the real relationship goals right there. That's awesome. That's awesome. I think what I'm hearing, and it's just becoming clearer to me in this episode than any other episode, is what makes you all dope, and all the guests that have been on Dope People, is that you all, everybody is non-traditionalist. You're non-traditional educators, which gives you the ability to think differently about education, which is something that I needed as a student. So I'm unlike both of you. I was not the top student in my class. At the beginning of the school day, was ready for the school day to be over. That was the only thing I was focused on. I was an average student on my best day. I did just enough not to fail and not to get in trouble at home. Had nothing to do with my intelligence and my ability to speak, count, read, or any of that. Always been a deep thinker, always been vocal about my opinions, especially to teachers. Always been that guy. Not very respectful, wasn't getting in trouble, but I wasn't here for it. I just wasn't here for it. And that's another episode. And so you all have this business. Dr. Sheka, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business and what you all ultimately accomplish?
So as Tammy stated, one of our mentors, we were just in conversation with him about some things. He had been to my school. He had worked with us on data, learning how to read data, making sure we were changing the trajectory of our school. And he needed some help with literacy. After he helped us with the data reading, and we had increased and improved our schools fairly quickly, he looked at us and said, well, what you all did with reading, and Tammy has that early childhood background training with literacy. He needed some things for his school. And we talked to him about it, and he, we were thinking one thing, and he was like, well, y'all think it's small, like Tammy said. And like, what? So he, said, broaden your horizons, because you really have the potential to do a lot of great things. And when he said that, that made us think like, well, wow, maybe we should start thinking a little more broader. So we went ahead with his encouragement to create our LLC. We both have a love for literacy and reading, because we feel like that is one of the things that really changes things for students, when they first get that love for reading and then develop those good habits to continue to be good readers. It changes their trajectory across every subject. And what we noticed when we were working with our students in our school, just like you, and a lot of my students have, like, I'm friends with them on Facebook, they'll say things to me like, oh, I'm good now, Miss Houston. I didn't have my doctorate then. I'm good now, Miss Houston. I'm not like I was in school. And I'm like, well, how you were in school, the students that came to my office, those were my favorite students. They might have got sent out of class, but I said, what you had then is what I call personality. So it was a lot different than I was as a student. I was the person who didn't get sent to the office, but those are the kids to me that just need that extra push. And really what we were seeing is that the reason they weren't engaged is because they didn't see anything to engage them. So instead of being compliant like we were in school, we just did what we were told and, accepted it. These children, to me, have done something that is out of the box. It's like, we're not going to accept this.
Correct.
Yeah, we're rejecting it because we're not in it, and it's not interesting. So what we did was start to intentionally seek out speakers. I brought in Dr. Akua, who is a phenomenal, he's a professor at Clark Atlanta University, but his research in cultural relevant pedagogy and just teaching us about our true culture, not starting with slavery, not starting with anything that has to do with cotton, but true history, that a lot of what we see here in America was brought from African customs and culture and architecture, everything that we see basically, and I'm being nicely when I say borrowed, but when they started to see themselves and they heard him, that's when the light bulb went off for me. Is like, wow, they're paying attention, because normally when we had speakers come in, they would, slouch down, they would
Oh
talk.
yeah, I heard you talking about that on, I guess you were talking to B. Janae about, although their heads were down, they were still didn't break eye contact and were still paying attention. Exactly. That goes back to that comment I was talking about when we were pre-gaming, about how it's not cool to be smart or intelligent or engaged, particularly if you're talking young Black men.
Exactly.
I think it still exists a bit today. So at Create and Educate, you all are helping to bring more relevant, culturally relevant books and literacy to the classroom. Is that?
That's correct. We offer that training for authors, but we also try to provide some equity around it. In education, we're very traditional. You know, we order from the same companies. We didn't even know about independent authors really until we did our show where we had the 12 Days of Christmas and had several authors on, and they wanted to know, like, well, how do we get to work with more schools or get our books into more schools? And we just felt like, well, this is a great opportunity to do two great things for educators and for authors, and bring some more equity around educators working with more people than just our normal companies that we always do business with, and
That's
get
dope.
our students something that they're actually interested in.
That's really dope. Principal Tammy, talk to me real quick. Let's go through these. You know, the core of our show rests around these three essential questions. So, Principal Tammy, what from your purview, from your position, from your vantage point, seems to be really working well? And I wanted to ask you this, and if you could just answer. Principal Tammy, you were also a classroom teacher, or?
I was.
Okay.
I
And what grade
taught
levels?
4th and 1st grades,
Okay.
respectively.
Okay. Okay. So from your years in education, Principal Tammy, what seems to be working well in education?
Well, the thing that I think is the thing that's going to change the way that education looks and is working well where it's being used is the tool of collaboration. And that is something that we, as a company, found and decided that that was going to be one of those things that was a part of all of the work that we did, because you cannot do this work alone. And that's what I am seeing as a building principle, that piece of collaboration that happens when you develop that type of synergy in your environment allows for there to be success at all levels with all stakeholders. With if everybody's working toward on the same goal, then we're going to get where we need to be. And I see that as being the thing that's working the best for me right now in education.
I really wish we had some more time, but there are two more questions, and I don't know who feels more passionate about. I'm going to lay these two questions out at the same time, and either of you can answer them however you see. And the two questions are, you know, what's keeping you up at night when it comes to education today? What are you worried about? What are you concerned about? And the second question is, what is the future of education? What does education look like from your vantage point in the next 10 years? And you can modify that second question with also, what would you like education to look like? So I don't know who wants to answer which one of those two.
Well, the thing that keeps me up at night is the lack of equity that exists, the equity that is not there with the curriculum, the equity that doesn't exist with who systems are conducting business with, because when that starts to change, then you actually start to get the things into the schools that you need. So the reason why we have the gap, and I don't feel like it's an achievement gap, I just think that students are not showing what they know because you haven't given them a reason to care. So when they don't care, they're not going to perform. And so now we have all this skewed data that looks like there's all of these gaps when where the real gaps are in the curriculum. They're in representation of who they see in schools, and the system itself. It really needs to be rethought and redesigned so that it's actually something that is good for all children and not just some children.
Yeah, that's heavy. We're gonna have to, I'm gonna have to offline. I think we're gonna have to do a part 2 to this because I really want to dig in. And maybe it's not even a part 2. I just think I'd like to chop it up with you all offline about that because that's exactly why I'm here. And I'm not tied to a school system or anything right now. So I'll say I'm really concerned about, yeah, I know it's the right thing to say all people, but now I'm trying to save my people. Like I need to be on that. Like we're hurting real bad. No disrespect. Look, I'm a child of God. I get that. That is very true. My people hurting. So I don't mind saying that. That's where my passion is lying right now. But I do have an affinity for all these young people for sure. Principal Tammy, future of education. What does it look like?
So, interestingly, we definitely have a vision for what the future of education should look like. And much of that is going to be focused around some of the points that Sheka just made, because it's going to be important to put in place structures and systems and supports that allow children to see themselves, not just in the curriculum, but in the research that gives them the empowerment to know that, hey, I'm a part of this already. Like this is a part of who I am, heritage. This is what makes me me. And while doing that, creating a camaraderie with staff that are there for the betterment of the children, forgetting about bureaucracy and forgetting about all those things that sometimes really tempt us to be self-promoting and to think only of what's in it for us, but selflessness that allows us to put structures in place that move kids along the trajectory so that we are producing young men and young women who are productive citizens who can decide if they're going to go on to college. We're hoping they go and select an HBCU, but if they don't, let them be ready to go into the military, let them be ready to go into the workforce, let them be ready to do what's going to come next for them, but allowing them to understand that they're ready for college, they're ready for a career, because that's what we want to do. We want to create this college and career ready kid that is ready to do what comes next for them, and making sure that they understand that there is a next, like there is something for you beyond where you are right now. And that's one of the things that we work really hard. We've created a real framework that's a part of the work that we do. And we are infamous for keeping it real, because that's kind of who we are. We are real educators who speak real life truth to the situation that we're facing. And one of the things that we hope to see is that as a community of people, we learn how to support one another. We learn how to be exactly what Sheka and I have become for each other. Trustmates. Like, I'm not racing you to the top. I am honestly happy for whatever you have going on. It has no bearing on anything that I'm doing. We don't have to compete with one another for us all to be great, because there's enough space at the table for us all to do what we're doing. And it's really going to come down to us coming together for that greater good, if that makes sense, for that cause. And the cause are the kids, to send them on to where they need to be. Because when you're talking about the future, we cannot speak of the future without speaking of who's going to be in that future. And if we don't prepare them, there is no future.
You know,
And I
that's,
know
yeah.
you only asked for one of us to answer, but I just wanted to add that because this is real, you know, another part of it is that serving the whole family as well in this model, because like you said, our people are hurting, and what we want to produce is trauma-free children who know who they are and are in love with themselves, because we don't have that right now.
Mhm.
And there is a lot of hurt that exists, and it's a continuation of things from trauma. So until we really deal with that root cause, a lot of times we're not going to get anywhere, and that's going to be a part of our work as
And
well.
what Sheka's
Just want
speaking
to
of
add
is
that.
that whole thing that we want to focus on, because generational trauma is as real as generational poverty.
Mhm.
It is a thing. And so we can't ignore what we're dealing with.
Yeah. I now am, it is confirmed why I invited you all on the show. We are speaking from the same, we are singing from the same hymn book. This is phenomenal. I normally would ask a question about, you answered it already when you talked about the future of the kids. I normally would ask, what are we in education preparing students for today? But you've already answered that question. I am super excited and moved by this conversation. I don't know if it's the time is just later in the day where I'm just feeling this conversation far more passionately than I've felt previous conversations. This is good. This is good. Hats off to you ladies. Create and Educate LLC. You all are doing amazing things. We are looking forward to the drop of your book. And the title of that book is It Doesn't Have to Be Lonely at the Top, The Power of Collaboration and Leadership. That will be dropping sometime soon. The link to that will be in the show notes. I want to thank you all for giving me your time this evening. It definitely warrants more conversation. The links to your Saturday PDs, and you want to just shout those out real quick. Of course, there'll be links in the show notes. You might want to just shout that out real quick.
So thank you, and thank you for having us. We've enjoyed it and are honored to be asked to come on Dope People. I'm going to share with my students who think I'm very corny. No, I was on Dope People, honey. You didn't hear? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, absolutely. We one of the best, yo. One of the best right here. Two of the best right here. Absolutely.
And she
But
knows
our
she's real dope. When she told me where we were going, I said, "Are you sure he wants me?"
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Y'all cold together. Y'all cold. Absolutely.
But our website, www.createeducate.solutions, has all of our links to the website. Not the website, our Facebook page, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So if you go to the bottom of the website, if you click those links, it will take you to all of our platforms as well as YouTube, because our previous episodes of the Real Academy that we do on Saturdays at 10:30 are there on the YouTube page, as well as the collaborative episodes.
Absolutely phenomenal. It has been a real pleasure. I definitely will be extending another invitation to the two of you to come back on so we can extend the conversation. Hopefully we get a chance to work together in the future. It sounds like I definitely want to be a part of what you all are doing, even if I can bring it back here to Chicago and the work that I'm doing over at Genius Lab. To everybody who is either listening or watching, we appreciate your time on another edition of Dope People. You already know what it is. Until next time, peace.